Glenn, when were you born?
1924, September the 22nd, 1924. That puts me up 86 years old, 87 coming September. But I do live south of Paoli, 2 miles south of the courthouse. Born and raised right there, and I really like where I live. Got a bunch of good neighbors, many friends. Feel like I've covered a lot of territory in my life. Never drew a dime in my life off public works. Farmed it out all my life, so to speak. But I've had my nose stuck in all kinds of outside activities, even politics a little bit.
Yeah?
And I've been in soil conservation, church work, ASC, and involved in old tractors and farm machinery. And I was an independent dealer for 23 years on old tractors, and I quit in 1974, and I went to antiquing for a hobby. And right at the present time, I have 46 antique tractors. About half of them's been completely restored and ready to roll. And I have really, if I was counting my son's Kubota, I have 13 different makes of tractors. I'm not married to any one color. I try to get as many colors as I could have. And I still rake hay. In fact, I did this week of a 1944 Farmall H, and that's your favorite tractor to rake hay with. And my son says, "Are you ever going to sell that tractor?" And I said, "No, I'm not." And he said, "Let's overhaul it and put it in A1 shape in." So we spent $1,000 on the motor on that 1944 H Farmall. And it still is our favorite tractor to use. We farmed 700 acres there of our own, rented 10 other farms, either all or part of them, and a 1976 was the newest tractor we had. So we just overhaul it, paint it, put new tires on it, and run it some more. And that's what we farmed with up until this year. And they've always kind of upgraded their sales, but now I had a heart attack and I had to quit all that work. I do a lot of bossing, or try to, but nobody pays too much attention to me. But you know, I enjoy people, I enjoy my family, try to live a clean life, and try to make every day I live better. Tomorrow, I hope, will be better than today. I really enjoy the farmer's market every time I come. I enjoy association with the people, and just like accidentally meeting you. That's a coincidence, and I love for those things to happen, the pleasant surprises, and I remember them. I treasure them. I remember them all my life. I tend to live my life in the past, and I think that living your life in the past can be a great asset to you, because you made a mistake back then, maybe you won't make it again today, see? So every day is an experience to me.
Now you've started getting into doing pieces of art. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, now that started long ago. And the first thing is I had 2 farm magazines years ago, and that was the Prairie Farmer and Farmer's Guide. And I was thumbing through the back pages of Farmer's Guide, and I seen a picture of a nuts and bolts tractor. And I thought, well, I can make one of them. So I started out to make me nuts and bolts tractor, but you have to have some knowledge of metal and knowledge of what you can do, what your capacities are with steel. Several different kinds of steel, and the majority of the steel that you look at is called mild steel. It's somewhat like people. Mild steel is pretty easy to work with. A lot of times you go into cast. Cast is one of the hardest metals that I know of to work with, and right at the present time I have a display on at Lost River Market Deli in Paoli, and I believe there are 17 pieces there. And on June the 23rd at 6 o'clock, I'm supposed to put on a program there and explain part of why I do that. In the display is a big water bird. And I got that idea at Opryland Hotel. Barbara and I were down there one night, Opryland Hotel, walk around, and they have a beautiful rainforest there. And we were looking at that rainforest and all the greenery there, and she said, well, that big waterbird has got a tag around his neck. Said, go over and see what that tag says. And I said, well, a little fence there, don't want to step over in there. So finally, she said, looked up and down the hall and said, I don't see nobody in the hall. Said, step over there and look at that tag. Well, I stepped over and looked at the tag, and it said $92 and a half. I couldn't believe it. I said, well, I can build one of them. So about 2 days later, we raised a lot of hogs, or the boys do now. But between the grower building and the finish house laid an old rusted out gate there. And I saw that old waterbird in that gate just as plain as could be. So I drug the gate down to the shop, began to cut and welding, and that bird right today is on display down there, and he stands up about 2 feet tall. Had a lot of compliments on that stuff. I have a life-sized skeleton family. Got a man and a woman, a little boy and a dog that I call the family. And I think I've had the most fun out of building that, especially out of the neighbor kids, out of church kids. And their name is Zeno, Zoe. The little boy's name is Zach, the dog's name is Zip. And they all start with Z.
Z's, yeah.
And I just have pleasure out of displaying it.
What are they made out of?
Well, as I told over to Market Deli, that I don't have junk piles like most farmers do. I have surplus piles, because I go to them junk piles and I sit down and look at them. I see something in that junk pile that resembles maybe a dog, maybe a horse, maybe an airplane, maybe even a worm. And then I'll take that piece and do the building on it.
So talk a little bit about the Lost River Market and Deli. How did you become involved with them?
Well, really, I thought it was really the thing to do. My wife has got money in it, and we believe it. We believe in it. My son sells what pork is sold out of there is raised on our farm. It's not marketed as hog farms. It's marketed as fisher farms, because every Monday morning a load of hogs goes to Celestine to be killed. Now they need to go to Celestine because it's state inspected, and I believe they got that federally inspected now. So his meat will be sold all over, any place in the United States. As it was before, it couldn't be sold out of Indiana. But it was marketed all the way from Indianapolis to Evansville. And one university even sells meat. Several golf courses around Bloomington. He stopped in someplace to Bloomington to some restaurant up there to eat, and he ate his own pork. Out of that restaurant in Bloomington.
Yeah.
And Fisher Farms, he raises his own beef, natural beef to sell. And when we say natural beef, it has no growth promotive, there are no
hormones,
medicine, no hormone, no growth promotive. And you'll find that the meat is better, tastes better, has a better texture. Our cattle is also natural, so that Dave Fisher runs out of his natural beef to sell, then he falls back on ours. And it's not been very many times that he has had to fall back on our beef, but we are all natural. And personally, I get kidded about this, but I'm a vegetarian and I don't eat meat, but I raise hogs and raise cattle.
Now, I buy, the past few years I bought pork from Hall Farms at the Bloomington Farmers Market.
That's right.
Who was that?
That was my grandson's wife. and she opted not to sell this year because she's got a baby, which will be our great-granddaughter.
Now, the baby was born in October, is that right?
That's right.
Yeah.
October 19th, I believe, or 20th, right along there. And just in the last few days, she's beginning to set up. A very, very alert little baby, I feel like. But now that was my grandson's wife.
Mm-hmm.
And,
well, we miss her at the Bloomington Farmers Market this year. You tell her that, okay?
I'll be glad to tell her that. I usually see her before the day's over. We'll see her about every day for that son, because to be her husband and my son now, which of course is his son, is working together.
Yeah. So how many kids do you have, Glenn?
I have 3 children. 2 girls and a boy. Our farming operation there has been a father-son operation for 5 generations. My father passed away in '68. I farmed 8 years by myself with Barbara's help. And my son Stanley graduated out of Purdue and was sitting up there eating breakfast one morning, and he said, "Dad, I just want to come home and farm." I knew he'd turned down 2 good jobs. One of them was a postal job in Evansville. So I said, well, there's no reason why not. I just had bought a big tractor, 117 horse, and I said, the machinery's big enough, just come back and do it. So he started farming then, and he still is farming. Only when I got sick, had the heart attack, his son took over what I dropped. And so we're farming our farm, and either parts are all 10 other tractors, or 10 other farms. And life's been good to all of us. We've been very blessed and very lucky, just to say the least, in life. I love people, and wife and I have been married 62 years. So that tells you something, and I think the secret to that is to keep your mouth shut sometimes when you want to open it. You know? and it seems to work.
Well, Glenn, is there anything else that I should be asking you that I haven't asked that you want to talk about?
You know, I don't know, Harley. I pretty well told you my life story, I think. And I think I'd like to encourage everybody to live a clean life. It'll pay off. There's a lot of benefits. The Bible's full of promises. And those promises will all come true if you live that kind of a life.
All right. Well, thank you very much for taking time to talk to me today.
Well, I appreciate talking with you. In fact, it's like I said, I like people, and it was sort of a coincidence that I run onto you.
Yeah.
But found out that I knew you and you knew me, and we didn't know it.
That's right.